Hi, I'm Michelle Perkins, host of Money and You, and I want to ask you a question, especially if you're a woman. If somebody asked you, are you a wealthy woman? How do you feel? Does that make you feel uncomfortable? Does that make you feel great? What comes up for you when asked that question? And secretly, would you like to be a wealthy woman? Stay tuned and find out how that can happen. Your relationship with money matters. I'm Michelle Perkins, and this is the Money and You podcast, where I will be breaking down your relationship with money, offering tough love money tips, and a money dating plan that will focus on lifting the barriers to success to help pave the way for better money practices and increased wealth. It's time to take control to live a limit-free life. It starts today. Hello, and welcome. And we are going to have a great show today. I'm going to introduce you to somebody who is going to introduce you to how to become a wealthy woman. Carrie Murray is a speaker, podcast host, and the founder of BRA, Business Relationship Alliance, a network of powerful female entrepreneurs devoted to advancing women-owned businesses by providing the community collaboration, empowerment, and support needed to flourish as an entrepreneur. Murray earned her bachelor's in social work and her master's in social justice. After becoming a court advocate, she helped victims understand their rights and navigate the judicial system. She later became a teacher, an administrator, and a principal. In 2011, she started Prestique Academy, a school for twice exceptional kids. She resides in Los Angeles with her family. Welcome, Carrie.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Michelle.
I'm so happy to have you here. And I think it's kind of interesting because anybody listening to your bio is going to be thinking, okay, how does being a school teacher and a principal and a social justice advocate lead to being a wealthy woman? Do you want to talk to us a little about your career journey?
Absolutely. Well, I'm originally from the Bay Area, got my degree in social work in San Francisco, and thought that's what I wanted to do. And 2 years into it, I realized, ooh, this is really deep and heavy. So moved to LA, got my graduate degree in education, and then felt I could make a bigger impact as a teacher. I love teaching. I'm a avid learner, and did that for a few years in a public school in LAUSD. Made the transition into becoming an administrator and a principal. And that's when I kind of noticed there was this marginalized population that really was overlooked. And those were the twice exceptional kids. And those are kids that are highly gifted, but also have special needs. So like a kindergartner who has ADHD, but is reading at a fourth grade level. What do you do with them? So I decided I'm going to start my own school. Why not?
Yeah, why not? There you go.
Having no business experience, having no business background. I had the school, I had the teachers, I had the playground, I had the students, opened my doors and realized I had no idea how to run a business. I had never done payroll before. I had never had to market myself. I never had to look into advertising. I thought people would just come because I had this great and amazing product and this stellar teachers, but I could talk about curriculum forever. So at that time, I started going to networking groups and all different types. But every time I went to these groups, I was typically the only woman there. Oh. And it was a bunch of old white men who were very salesy. And it's like, hey, how you doing? Here's my business card. What do you do? And I was like, oh, I run a school. And then they wanted nothing to do with me because they knew. They were like, no, never mind. So I kept thinking, where are all the women at? I was frustrated by it. And my school was now taking on more students, more debt, running payroll and running also collecting money, right? That was new for me as a teacher to charge for something. I never had to really do that before. So when people would tell me, oh, I can't make tuition, I'd be like, okay, really, I need to keep the lights on. I need to pay for my teacher and my custodian. But trying to grapple with finding support was difficult. And I was complaining to my couple of friends who were also entrepreneurs. One was an interior designer, one was an accountant. And they just challenged me to create my own network. They're like, just create your own thing. So I was like, oh, okay. So it started with a dinner party. in my backyard that you were in. And there was 5 of us. And then they were like, well, I have a friend who is a wedding planner. I have a friend who is a lawyer. Can I bring them? And then it kind of grew and grew and grew until at one point I had like 25 women in my backyard. And I thought, there might be something here. I might have a product or business right here, right now. And that's when Bra was kind of formed. I got a website. I got a budget. I did things differently this time, and started working on Bra and the school at the same time. Well, eventually the school got too big. It was acquired by another school, which was great. My students and teachers were taken care of. And then I focused on Bra, building Bra full time. And that was in 2012. And now we have members all over the country. Technically, I'm a global brand because I have 2 twins in Switzerland who are in marketing.
Wow.
So I'm international.
I love that. I didn't realize you'd started it so early. I can't remember when I started hearing about it, but I did several years ago. And of course, you can't not pay attention to the name of it. So that was a very clever.
So it was really important to me that I found a brand name that every woman, whether they wear one or not, has an experience with a bra, whether it's positive or negative. And a bra lifts and supports, right? It also, you want to be strapped into your business, and there's a lot of puns around it. Some, more advanced entrepreneurs might have a full coverage bra. Some maybe new entrepreneurs might be in a little bralette. So there was just so many puns. I wanted it to be feminine. I wanted to people to have a sense of humor about this entrepreneurial journey that we were all going through, and that to literally dive into the cleavage of their business, I wanted a safe place for them to do that. And that's how Bra was formed. Now I get it's cheeky and funny and it's not for everybody, and that's okay. There's plenty other networking groups out there. Ask me where the old white men are. I'll tell you where they're hanging out.
I think it's great. So, and I love that story of how it was born. And I love that you kind of looked around and thought there's an opportunity here, because I think that we probably have had a lot of those that we miss. And you managed to see the light bulb and do something with that. So,
yeah. And I have to say, with anything, when there's a need, there's an opportunity. So right when I launched Bra was the height of the Me Too movement. So women were, for the first time in a long time, banding together and really collaborating and saying, we have to stop competing with each other. We are so much stronger together. And we would see all of these memes and posts about women empowering women, collaboration over competition. But I wanted to be beyond the meme, beyond the trend, and okay, now that we're all motivated, I wanted to then activate them and let's actually do the thing. Let's not just keep talking about it and doing Instagram posts about it. Let's do it.
Oh my God. Now my brain is consumed with, was that really 10 years ago? I mean, I hope I can even continue to do the show now. I'm so stunned. Okay. That's great. So you found yourself helping women. And I have to go back a second, because I love that you brought up the different industries. I just got off the phone on the drive here to the studio talking about this exact thing. We are just not taught business. In any profession we get into, it is so bizarre to me. The more I think about it, the more ridiculous it seems. So you get out of dental school or medical school or law school or interior design school, no matter what you get out of, you're supposed to magically be able to take that skill set and do it and be a business owner. And somewhere along the line, they just forgot that business owner part is actually, there are skills related to that nobody's bothered to teach us.
There is no class on, okay, now I'm going to show you how to hire employees and how to manage them, right? And how to do payroll and set up their 401k. There is no, it's okay, you're an interior designer, go run your business.
Yeah. And how to market. Run a business.
Marketing.
Oh my God. Yeah. That's
huge. It is a key piece missing. And I hear it more among creatives, photographers, architects, designers, that once they leave art school, there are no business classes in art school.
No, I know it. And then I was also talking, and this is where your group is fantastic too, because the same person I was talking to, we were talking about how, especially well, I don't know if it's especially women. I've talked about this a lot before. People keep their whole money situation a big secret too. So, there's a lot of shame around it. There's a lot of, oh my God, I'm looking on Instagram and these people are so successful and I'm not. So I can't talk about my money, which is the exact opposite of what you should be doing so that you can get some education. So what kind of conversations are you having with your bra network around this?
So when I first founded the network, money was a topic that would come up a lot, but it would be like very casual. They're a little hidden and like, so what are you charging? Or, and it was something very taboo. And I kept seeing them curious, but not talking about it. So the first thing I did was a webinar with a financial planner for small business owners. You felt safe. You were in your Zoom square. A lot of people had their camera off. And she basically talked about how to set up your books, right? Mm-hmm. Then after that, the conversation was like, well, Carrie, are you doing another one? What else can we do? I want to talk with people who are in my same industry and want to ask them openly, what do you charge? So if you're a wedding photographer and you're charging $8,000, but I'm a wedding photographer charging $2,000, what's the difference? Mm-hmm. Like, why aren't it the same?
Right.
We're also we have ancestral, trauma dealing with our talking about money. We didn't grow up, especially if your parents were baby boomers. They did not share what they had in their home, in fear of someone coming to take it from them. Yeah. They hid money under the mattress. And then, so dealing with kind of how our parents raised us and not really showing us how to anything other than filling out a checkbook. Mm-hmm. We never really took marketing the stock market classes, investing classes. I didn't learn about real estate investing until it was time for me to buy a home. Mm-hmm. I had no idea what I was doing. Mm-hmm. Man, that would have been a great class in high school, let me tell you, instead of square dancing. Yeah. So as the women got more comfortable with each other, I decided let's put all the, interior designers together in a room and let's just have the conversation. What's someone, in their first 5 years charging? What's someone who's charging in their 20 years? Mm-hmm. And they just felt comfortable and safe to do that. And then the conversation got even deeper, was like, well, now that we're making money, what do I do with it? How do I create a retirement fund if I'm an entrepreneur? Mm-hmm. I don't have a boss who's taking out money automatically from my paycheck. And am I even paying myself? Right. Am I writing myself a paycheck? So those conversations started. Then we realized, there's a disconnect between our mindset. So how can we get out of our head about worthiness and self-worth, charging what you're worth, pricing and scaling? So we had more conversations around that. And then as these conversations got bigger and bigger, the topics got wider. What's crypto? What's whole life insurance? What's a good savings plan? That's when we started. I was like, okay, I think we need something bigger, better, and really impactful. And it's a form of a conference. And that's when the Wealthy Woman Summit came to be. It's an extension of BRA's very first meeting around financial planning. Here we are now, 6 years later. Wow. Thanks to the pandemic. We were delayed a little bit to have an entire conference about not only, cultivating wealth, because one of the things we had to deal with is wealthy isn't only something about money in the bank, right? Right. You could be wealthy in spirit. You could be wealthy in community, wealthy in leadership, wealthy in health, but we don't see it that way. We think wealth has to be dollar bills in the bank, but it's not. You could be very, very rich in life, with a great family, with a great support system, with a great community like Bra. I'm just trying to show that they can be the same. You can be wealthy in the bank and wealthy as a lifestyle, as a way of living.
Yeah, I love that because I actually, it's so interesting just the way we think about things. And I love beliefs around money and just that word. I actually, I sent the information on the Wealthy Women Summit, which I will be attending. And it's this coming Thursday and Friday, correct?
Yes.
And there was this little part of me that was like, if I send something about a Wealthy Women Summit, are they going to be intimidated? Are they going to think, I can't go, get on a yacht with wealthy women? And I thought, this is so ridiculous that we're even thinking about that. And I love what you said, because I think if you make that word a reflection of your whole life, because, dollars aside, there's so much wealthiness.
I mean, I could have
Yeah.
billions of dollars, but, be lonely or overeating
100%.
or, living a life of overconsumption. That's not a wealthy life. And, but it's all about finding the wealth in all areas and understanding, you're right, the mindset that I'm actually made for more than just, my paycheck to paycheck and, I'm making just enough. What if we changed our way we approached it and said, that's only the beginning. How much more wealth can I cultivate in my life, in the bank, as well as in my own personal life, within my spirituality, within my family, within my community? How can I do that?
Right.
First off, it's like self-acceptance. I'm worthy of it. Once you start there, you're limitless. You're really only being held back by yourself. And that's unfortunate, but I see that a lot among women when it comes to the topic of money, self-worth.
Yeah, thank you. And I think it's a step out of your comfort zone to go and use that word wealthy in conjunction with yourself. I think it's actually a really good exercise to put yourself in a place where you're doing that. And even if you feel uncomfortable, I feel like stepping into that identity and understanding and defining it in a new way, like you just said, is a really healthy step in getting a better money relationship going.
Absolutely. And it is something, we have a very emotional approach to how we deal with pricing, especially when you're an entrepreneur, because you're not quite sure, what is my competitor doing? And you go into the deal and the call and you're like, okay, my price is $1,500 to photograph your kid's bar mitzvah. And then women inadvertently start talking before they've said yes.
Yeah.
So if you take one advice from this podcast, give your price and shut up.
Yeah.
Wait for them to talk, because women interrupt themselves. Men do not. They come in, they're naturally, my price is $1,500. Here's my checkbook. Go ahead, sign on the line. They don't get in the way of themselves, but we have a tendency to be like, well, I don't know. No.
Yeah.
Say your price, be quiet.
I know. And when I was starting out too, I would do the same thing. And I love that advice. But yeah, you're right. You'll say the price and then you'll be like, but if that's hard for you right now, or if there's something going on where you can't do that, and then you immediately start giving it away. You have
to check with your spouse.
Yeah, I know.
If they book the call with you, they're ready to spend the money.
Yeah.
I don't go into the Gap and say, can I only pay $15 for that t-shirt? No. Okay.
No. Yeah, I know. It's another really interesting phenomenon that happens. And so how, it's one thing to know this stuff. It's another thing to actually do it and change your habits. And so how do you see the women in your network, tackling that, or how do you help them with that?
Taking action. So as a former principal and teacher, I couldn't let my students leave the classroom without me knowing, did you understand how to multiply those fractions? They do a little sheet of paper and say, look, I can multiply fractions, Miss Murray. Okay, you can go to recess. Well, I don't want to have a conference where it's all a bunch of fluff and us cheering each other on and we're leaving and then just being like, that was great, and then not taking any action.
Yeah.
So takeaway, action, planning and productivity is a huge part of why I wanted to build this. I wanted the conferences where you have the crappy coffee and the lanyard and you're in there with thousands of people and eventually it's just one big sales pitch at the end.
Yeah.
They're like, and now join my $75,000 program.
Yeah.
You're like, wait a minute, I just bought a ticket to be sold to. That's not this summit. It is very valuable takeaway. It's women sharing their expertise on how they cultivated their wealth, and planning. Like, here's the book. You're going to plan to implement. Mm-hmm. So it's really important to me that we don't, spend our time just talking the talk, but we actually implement what we're learning. So that comes with follow-up, because again, I'm a former teacher. So I have to know, like, what did you do? Did you put that plan in action that our speaker spoke about for, wealth management in real estate? Mm-hmm. Or are you looking into crypto now? What's next for everyone? Because to me, I'm tired of the conferences that are just all fluff and a photo booth and a swag bag I'm never going to use. No.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm a huge conference goer, but I agree with you. You're so inspired and you're so jazzed up, and then Monday comes and you're back to work, and you've got the notes that you can't wait to read that you end up never looking back at. And there's a planning is everything. And with finances, when we think of a financial plan, that has its own really boring, daunting kind of connotation. But we can make that into something else and create plans like we do when we're vacation planning or when we're, planning for other interesting things. So I think, you have to have a plan. Because sometimes, I don't know if you've done this, but I've reflected back on my life and there are these giant gaps where I had no plan and nothing really significant happened with respect to my finances. So
absolutely. Well, you got to work backwards. So if your goal is to have that, 100,000 trip, 6 months off in Europe, start with that and then work yourself backwards. Okay. How am I going to get to that plan? If I want to be in June 2024, 6 months sabbatical. Okay. Work backwards. So I'm going to have to have a team in place. I'm going to have automated systems so my business can work on its own while I'm away from it. I have to have streams of passive income because I'm going to need extra money because I want to go shopping while I'm doing all this vacationing. So working backwards towards that. And that starts with, well, what am I starting with? Do I have a small business loan? Am I borrowing from myself? Am I still working and getting a paycheck? Where is that egg starting? And then go from there. I think when people hear the word loan, it's not very sexy. It's like, oh, I owe money. But having a loan, a small business loan with a low interest rate is actually good debt. I would highly get something like that than a credit card with like 18% interest rate. That's bad debt.
Right.
So a little bit of debt is actually okay. You're not going to be able to grow a business without a little bit of debt. A little bit, not a lot, just a little.
Yeah, I agree with you. And yeah, I think again, it's these beliefs we have. People who grew up hearing all the time, debt is bad. You should never get in debt. Don't do anything that's going to create debt. That's a tough road for an entrepreneur. So, some of those people are not even going to go into entrepreneurship.
No. Yeah. That's fear-based decision making, right? So I have a lot of entrepreneurs that I see who join BRA who have the greatest idea for a product, but they don't have a market plan. So they need support with that. Okay, well, how are you going to market this? And how are you going to fund yourself to spend the time marketing it? Or are you going to hire someone to do your marketing? And how are you funding that person? It's really all integrated, and you can't really jump into entrepreneurship without the money piece. A lot of people do. They see the Instagrammers and they see what's happening and they're like, oh, I could just go on Instagram and talk about my product and it'll sell millions. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's not how it works.
Yeah. It's a little more of a long-term commitment and investment than I think a lot of us realize because, and again, entrepreneurs are creative people typically. And, I was listening to someone very spiritual talk about business and she was saying, business can be the greatest way to express your creativity in this world. And I agree with that. I think a business is like a work of art. You're creating it and you can transform it all the time. And, it really is a wonderful way to express your creativity. But again, if you don't take care of the money part, unfortunately, you're not going to have a lot of room to play.
Why you have so many people that, fail, unfortunately. Right. And in my school, I failed. I looked at that failure as what built BRA. I mean, when I left, my school was acquired, I was $60,000 in debt. And I was like, now what am I going to do? I have 2 small children. Luckily, I had the support of a spouse. And that's when I approached building BRA. I started with money this time. I started with a business plan. I didn't have a business plan when I built my school. I was like, a what? Yes. So I got support. I hired a coach. I was like, okay, I want to build this. And one of the things my coach told me is like, how much of it can you do from home, first off, and online? Because those are some of the 2 freest things, cheapest things you can do for yourself and your business. And the majority of what we do at BRA is online. I think that's why I was able to have members in other cities and across the United States, because again, at the time, women were looking for community. Yeah. And the other big boost I got in membership was the pandemic. I thought nobody's going to want a community. everyone is so sad. And it was the opposite. Everyone was like glomming for like community and like, oh, this is already built online. It's already set up. I want to be a part of this. And it just kind of grew from there. So again, it's like sometimes these not so fortunate things happen in the world, but they brew opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's great. And yeah, it was, I mean, it was really a good, smart move to have kind of brought it online even before the pandemic, because then everybody was scrambling to go online. So you were set up, and that's great. So when you were putting together the Wealthy Women's Summit, in your mind, did you have some kind of predetermined ideas of what women needed and what kind of topics will there be?
Sure. I did what everybody should do, is a little market research for pricing. The first thing I wanted was it to not to be in a conference room. I wanted it to really make an impact. And the venue to me was going to be like, when you arrive, I wanted people to be like, okay, this is what I mean. Yes. And so it's on a yacht. It's the Sir Winston yacht in the Long Beach Harbor. And we can see the Queen Mary from it. So queens need queens. So I thought that was just perfect. It doesn't go anywhere. It's docked the whole time. So then from there, I looked to the women that inspired me. And one of them was Arlen Hamilton. She wrote the book, It's About Damn Time. And she is the founder of Capital Investing. And she purposely invests in women-owned, BIPOC-owned, LGBTQ-owned small businesses, because there were no venture capital funding opportunities for anyone in that. I mean, I think women are like 2% in venture capital investing. So she created this, and her book was incredible. So inspired by that, I was like, I wonder if she'll be a keynote. She's in, Los Angeles. And I was like, there's no way. But the answer is no until you ask. And so once she said yes to be our keynote speaker and to record her podcast, I was like, oh, well, let's go. If I have Arlen Hamilton, who else can I get here that can really inspire and educate? That's the other thing, inspiration and education. And that was Rachel Rogers. She wrote, We Should All Be Millionaires. And I love that, because we should all be millionaires. And her book, she's coming in on the second day to be our keynote speaker. So then from there, I just polled my community. What topics do we want to learn about? Real estate investing came up a lot. A lot of people don't think they're worthy of investing in real estate, especially if you're in California. But our speaker there is going to talk about how actually we are if we create a syndicate and invest together. That's just one option. Also, money mindset, that's a big one. How do we release this kind of ancestral trauma we have, our relationships with money, and be open to receiving money? Because that's another thing. We don't think we're worthy of receiving money. And then when we get it, as women, we just spend it because we want to see it. And so then we're like, I want to see it in a car, in a handbag, or something like that.
Right. When
we don't see it, we're like, it's in a banking account. Oh, I want to see it. No. Put it in a bank account, put it in a savings account. And then, of course, we have great panelists. We have one that's called Catherine Gray, who we both know. That's all about angel investing and how, as a small business, to get funding from angel investors. That's going to be a great one. So that's another thing. Like, there are many grants available for women entrepreneurs. There are many funding opportunities. We just don't have access to them. So she's going to speak about that. And then we have a lot on crypto. We have a lot on, changing our money mojo, which literally is the title of her workshop. And then also creating passive income. That's from Janice Torres. Passive income to me is essential to any entrepreneur. You have your product or service that you're selling, but at the same time, you need to have business systems in place that while you're sleeping, you're still making money. Whether that's from investments, whether that's from, a course you may offer, maybe it's from a speaking, maybe it's, from whatever those passive income streams are, it's essential for an entrepreneur to have more than one stream of income to come in.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was one of the biggest takeaways from the whole pandemic, was if you had multiple streams of income, you were a lot better off because maybe one or more might be going away. And so, yeah, That sounds fabulous. So I can't wait. And yeah, I'm already in my mind thinking how excited I am about different ones. I'm really excited to learn about crypto because I've been trying to learn it from my kids, and that is just a language. There is some disconnect there. What they say is not, I'm not getting it. But yeah, it's going to be great. And I love that you're doing it. I think the more we educate and bring people together to talk about these things, just the better off we are, and the more comfortable we get, and the less we feel all that weird shame and stigma around,
Yes, absolutely. I mean,
what's going on.
And podcasts like yours, Money and You, it's like, it's bold. It's like money and you. Let's talk about it. Like, I like that you're just like, for me, wealthy women. Come on, let's talk about it. Just get right to it. No more shying around like, oh,
I know.
No,
and
let's talk.
There seems to be, as you're saying this, I've never really thought about it before. So thank you for mentioning that. But, we think it's almost like money and them. Like it's a very external thing. And really, you're going to have this on your, speakers talking about this at your summit. But it's really about ourselves. And like you were saying, the ways we were brought up, the messages we heard. And so how you interact with money is going to be different than somebody else. And the formulaic kind of approach that I think the financial world has tried to make people think they need, I don't think that works. I think it's just like diets and food. I mean,
completely, you are speaking my language, Michelle. Yes, I agree. I think money management systems were placed in the Industrial Revolution. That was like over 100 years ago. It's time to like update that. And really get clear on our self-worth, pricing, scaling, and to be competitive in the global economic community, we have to be talking about it. There's conversations happening, but women just haven't been talking about it. So it's time to get comfortable, have a fabulous latte, be on a yacht, and talk about it.
That sounds very wealthy and beautiful to me. Yeah. So, okay, well, I could ask you a million more questions. I'd love just like a couple of little wrap-up tips for women entrepreneurs, to really, I don't know, not make it easier, but to smooth that rocky road that is entrepreneurship a little with respect to money.
Absolutely. I think the first is find the people that are doing what you're doing and see what they're charging. I think we think we're the only ones. I'm the best branding photographer out there. You're not. You're probably very competitive and very good, but find someone who's doing what you're doing and ask how much they charge. That's the first thing. See what the market value is. The second is if you have 5 containers, when you get paid, pay yourself, even if it's $20. Save some. Fun money, entertainment, go to the movies, investing in yourself. So saving is different. This is for a rainy day. This is for investing. And your last is to put back into your business. But there's something about writing yourself a check or taking that, even if it's a small amount, you only made your $1,500 this month. Take $100 and write that check to yourself. There's a psychology behind paying yourself before it goes back into the business. And then I guess the last thing is really, finding a community that's going to support not only your business growth, but your, economic growth. Seeing the whole big picture, not just saying, I love your brand colors. Oh my gosh, this is the best yoga class I've ever taken. Instead, invest in a community that's going to be a part of your whole journey, your community building, your brand awareness, but also your profitability. So that would be my advice. Oh, and come to the Wealthy Women Summit.
Yeah, I do think that would be a great. If you have a pretty good relationship with money, it'll just enhance it. If you don't have a great relationship with money, I think that's a great event to go to. And can you give us all the details and also the details on how you can become a BRA member?
Absolutely. So you can find BRA on all the social medias of @BRA_network. And then the website is bra-network.com. And for the Wealthy Women Summit, it is WeWo for Wealthy Women, summit.com. And for everyone who's watching or listening, I'm giving you a code. It's INVEST, and it's 10% off a 1-day or 2-day ticket. We are also on Instagram at WeWo Summit. So find me all the places. Honestly, if any of your guests are listening to this, send me a DM and tell me you what you liked about our recording, and I'll send you a special promo code to become a member too.
That's great. Thank you. And thank you for that generous offer. It's Invest. I'll put that in the show notes and you can get a 10% discount. Would you also like to tell us about your podcast? Because I started listening to it. It's really fun.
Yes. And I'm excited that you're going to be a guest. So this was a pandemic project. It's called Get Carried Away. Again, I love puns. And I get carried away with women, thought leaders, disruptors, social justice changers, anybody that's really got a great story. And we get carried away about things that we're passionate about and things that drive us crazy. But it is, if you want a great 30-minute, dose of advice, support on so many different topics, everything from money, branding, self-worth, all of it. It covers all the things. But I just wanted another avenue to highlight the women in the network, but also really need to cultivate community during the pandemic. And I was just like, I need friends. So I created a podcast.
Podcasts are great ways to meet people.
Because I talk to my husband too much.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. So, Carrie, her podcast is Get Carried Away. I love the name. And so I hope, listeners, that you are taking note of the Wealthy Women Summit and trying to think how you can clear your calendar and go to that with a 10% discount. And I am very excited about it. I know something like that is going to get my ideas churning around, and I'm going to make sure that when I come back, I'm going to have a plan to take some new actions, because that is the key. And thank you, Carrie. I'm going to
follow up with you.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I love this. And if somebody were to ask you, do you think I should consider becoming an entrepreneur? I've always wanted to, but I'm a little afraid. I won't have a steady paycheck. What would you tell them?
Hold your breath, grab a friend, jump on in.
Yeah.
You'll be just fine. Find a community. You'll be there.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. And I so appreciate you being here today. I know you're having a very busy week, so I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Well, we're talking about two of my favorite topics, me and Bra Network. So I'm good.
That's great.
Thank you, Michelle.
Okay,
this was fun.
Thank you. And thank you, listeners, for being here. We love it when you join us at the Money and You Show. You can follow us, subscribe, leave a review, ask a question. You can reach out to me at michelle@limitfreelife.com with 2 L's. You can go to the limitfreelife.com website and get some free resources on career change, productivity, money mindset, and I am starting my money dating program. That starts actually tomorrow, but if you want to come in a week late, that's also fine. I can catch you up. That'll be 10 weeks of me chaperoning you on money dates so you can get your mindset improved and wonderful so that you can move forward into financial success, and also take some actions while we're going through the dating process, learn how to do these dates so that when I leave, you can do them on your own and build a great relationship with money. So that's coming up, and you can find the podcast on all the podcast platforms and the YouTube or the Limit Free Life YouTube channel and Facebook page. So thanks so much for being here. We'll see you next week.